This is Anime Ricochet. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Anime Ricochet, the premier anime podcast of Nerd Blaze. My name is Jeff, and I am here with my favorite co-host.
What?
His name is Kobe.
I'm your. Oh wow, you're springing this on me real quickly, Jeff. I didn't know I was your favorite. I mean, that's a big commitment. I don't know if I'm ready for such responsibility.
You better be fucking ready for it. I signed you under this contract, Kobe.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, I am his favorite co-host, Jacoby. Hello, everybody.
Hello. How are you? You good? Everything's good.
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I can't complain because we're going to be talking about Yuri on Ice this episode.
Ooh, yes, we are. Yuri on Ice.
And if you don't know, this anime is about two dudes who don't play sports or know anything about sports talking about sports anime. So, that's a raucous combination.
We feel like we're most to talk about sports because of our qualifications of knowing nothing about sports.
That's exactly right. I think that's how it works in other professional fields as well. Mm-hmm. And we are professionals, so.
Exactly.
Yeah,
classy
so we're
professionals.
Just classy professionals. We're both wearing top hats.
Yes.
And Kobe has a monocle. I don't have a monocle. I dropped mine.
I stole these monocles from fancy gentlemen because I like to collect them. So just imagine this whole podcast is done by two fancy gentlemen.
Fancy gentlemen with top hats.
Indeed.
We're just gonna jump right into it. This is Yuri on Ice. It was released in 2016. Started in October 6th. It ended its run December 22nd. There's 12 episodes. And it's directed by Sayo Yamamoto, who directed Michiko and Hatchin and Lupin the Third, The Woman Called Fujiko Mine. I've heard of Lupin the Third, haven't heard of the other one.
I have not heard of the other one either.
Have you heard of Lupin the Third though?
I have not. Is that awesome? Did you?
I don't know. I haven't seen it, but it sounds familiar. I think it was on Adult Swim or something, but. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, this anime kind of popped up, and when it did, it kind of took the world by storm. Took the anime world by storm in the season that it had. It accumulated a lot of popularity, especially online, and we thought we would discuss it because I'm in love with this anime. I'm not afraid to say it. I love it. Curious to know what your thoughts are.
Gay is what I would say, which is very topical because this anime has gay characters.
Yes.
And also it deals with ice skating, by the way. That's probably the main thing.
That is the sport that we'll be tackling.
Yuri on Ice. They're talking about ice skating, by the way.
Yes, it is. In all of its glory, championship ice skating. Have you ever thought about ice skating before?
I have ice skated, but I'm afraid to do it. Every time I go onto the rink, I have this fear that I'll trip and fall on my face, and I'll have my fingers splayed out, and then someone will ice skate over my fingers and cut my fingers off.
Yeah, because oh my god, that's terrifying. That is very frightening. But it's like ice skating is like when you're ice skating one of those rinks, when you're going around the circle, it's just like there's so many unknown variables. It's like you're going along at your own little tiny pace and stuff, but anybody could just become shooting out of the blue and just like knock you down, and then you're done. And It's like I don't like that. And it's cold. I'm not a big fan of the cold, so that's another big factor. And
I feel like I'd like it more if I was actually competent at it. But every time I do it, it's always like teetering between the edges of life and death at every moment on the rink.
But that's kind of thrilling in a sense.
It's thrilling and it's terrifying. And one time, we pulled this really mean prank on a friend of ours, and you know this person, but I'm not gonna name it the person. But this one time, it was on the person's birthday. We all were in a line, holding hands, ice skating, and we went to the center. And then we just ditched the dude, and we just kind of like went off in different directions. And this person that we ditched, which was his birthday, also didn't know how to ice skate. So he was kind of trapped in the middle of the ice skating rink.
Wow.
Who didn't know how to ice skate. That was kind of a terrible story, but I just feel like I wanted
you're painting us as the bad guys. At least yourself as the bad guy.
I wanted to relieve my burden. You can be the good guy, Kobe. I'll be the bad guy.
So I'm going to be but you're kind of likable in the sense. That's why you'll be Yurio and I'll be Yuri.
Yes.
In the sense, because Yurio, one of the characters focused on it, starts off as he seems like the villain of the series.
Yes. So Right. So
which is just a natural transition to talking about the characters in this show.
that was a really good segue.
Yeah.
You know what? Take it away, Kobe. That was really good.
All right. So Yuri on Ice, there is populated with just these, to me, these fascinating characters. But really what it boils down to is these three main guys. There's Yuri, Yuri Katsuki. He is a figure skater from Japan. There is Yuri
Plasetsky?
Plasetsky. Yes, there's Yuri Plasetsky. He is a 15-year-old Russian figure skater. And then there is skating legend Viktor Nikiforov, who is another. I'm butchering all these last names, but what it boils down to, there's two Yuris and a Victor is what this show should have been called instead.
Two Yuris and a Victor.
I would have watched that.
Yes, and basically, the anime follows these three characters as they compete onto the Grand Prix World Championship Series, and let's just go down.
And the trials and tribulations that come with it.
Yes, and it's also a bit of a love story. There's some romance going on in here.
Major romance,
and
to me, I think it's one of the. I found it one of the best love stories. I thought it was a great love story, just tightly told over 12 episodes. It's just done really well, in my opinion.
Yes, I disagree.
But
good.
I'm excited.
Let's get into that later. But so let's go down the list of the characters. So we have Yuri Katsuki. He's the main dude. Like you said, he's a skater from Japan. Mm-hmm. And basically, it starts with him losing in the first episode. It kicks off in the very first episode where it's the end of the competition, and Yuri Katsuki gets like last place, and he goes to the bathroom and he's crying. And then the other Yuri is like, "Well, if you're crying, you should just quit." And I guess he does for a little bit, and he goes back to his hometown for about a year, and
he
he
has
chills.
No idea what to do with his life.
Exactly, and there's a lingering. He glances over at the other main character, Victor. At this point, I believe Victor is I will say Russian
time. Yeah, he just won his fifth consecutive championship.
Yes,
Victor is the real deal.
Victor is the boss of ice skating, and he's also the coach of Russian Yuri, I believe, at this time. Or is he just a competitor?
He's just a competitor at this point.
That's right. He was. Okay. So yeah, they're both competitors. They're both Russians, and there's a quick glance that Japanese Yuri shoots to Victor, signaling that that's his idol, and everyone reveres Victor. Basically, everyone in the series loves and adores Victor. But
Victor is God, basically, because he can ice skate really, really well.
He is the god of ice skating,
which is not a knock on him. It feels like I'm downplaying that, but he does. He ice skates really, really well in a beautiful way. So good on him.
Yes. And yeah, that's what kicks off the series. So it's a big failure. And he goes back to town and he's kind of meandering. He's meeting the other townsfolk. You kind of get introduced to the several townsfolk characters who are cheering him on from back home.
Who you think are going to be important to the story, but are really
true.
not.
That's true. Yeah. They spend a good amount of time establishing the connections between the characters. But really, for the purposes of this podcast, they're basically your side characters that like to they're cheering for Yuri on the sidelines. In the beginning, they play a bigger role.
I think they play a vital role in the overall message of the series, in my opinion, when it comes to like subverting expectations, which we'll talk about when we do our kind of our deep dive more so. But when you're just first examining this series, it's like you think they're going to be way more important than they actually are.
Yeah. And they're a little important because they kind of help Yuri with his training in a bit. Not particularly in this episode, but at the end of this episode, Japanese Yuri kind of gets his groove back on, and what he does is he copies this ice skating routine that Victor had years ago when he was. I think that was the routine that Victor had when he was a young kid. Yeah. And secretly, one of the characters, like the little kid characters, comic relief children types,
triplets, scary children, egg people.
Yeah, they're not humans. They're just egg people.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're filming him secretly, and then they share it on social media, which is a big thing in this anime. It's a very 2016 anime. Social media plays a really big role in this anime. It's noticeable.
Yeah,
Its presence is known. And
I didn't think about that before. That's a good point.
yeah, yeah. I mean, because it's something that you and I live with every day. I think probably it's just sort of like a fact of life. It's interesting to see it in an actual in an anime.
Yeah.
Because most animes I see are I guess from before the social media craze.
Yeah,
So,
they don't really
anyways.
know how to incorporate them into their storyline and for like effective ways, basically. But this one, I think, does it really well.
Yeah, and in that sense, it makes it feel a lot more real, a lot more relatable. Like these are real people that are obsessed with taking photos of videos and sharing them and things. But yeah, so the video is online, and I guess it's viral because Victor's a god, and anyone who can emulate him becomes godlike in a way. And who notices this? First of all, everyone does, but most importantly, Victor.
Victor himself notices. He's sitting on his couch with his dog, and just like, this is interesting.
Yes. So what does he do next, Kobe?
So all of a sudden, Yuri is in his hometown in Japan. He's debating what he wants to do with his life. He's at this point he's kind of set on quitting. He doesn't really want to do this anymore. But then when he gets home, he finds that he opens the door and finds a dog standing in his doorway. And it's just like, oh, this looks kind of like the dog Victor has. Wait a second. And then he finds out that Victor is there. Victor has traveled all this way, and Victor makes the grand announcement that I am going to teach you. I'm going to become your new coach. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, and that's doesn't he shows up like naked or something, or is that later on?
That's later. He's naked.
Okay.
I think in the next episode.
Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, that's a pilot episode of this, yeah, just from the get go, I think what kind of confused me a little bit about the series, and I didn't realize it until later on in the show, is that this show actually starts a story off in the middle of these character arcs because
it does.
Because, like I said, in the very first moments, Yuri loses a competition, and he sort of looks over longingly, and he has these interactions with Russian Yuri, and a short interaction with Victor. And so, watching this as a first-time viewer, I thought that these are just strangers. So I was like, Russian Yuri is a dick. He's just yelling at this other competitor for crying in a bathroom. Like, what was the point of that? Yeah. And then he's looking over at Victor, which I guess from the context of them being strangers, still kind of makes sense. But you don't actually realize until later on in the series that they've had prior interactions. Yeah, I guess.
It is
like they know of each other. It seems like
they do, and they know it. They've been competitors, and it's really the same competitors every single year of their life. I mean, of course they know one each other. Like no one's meeting one another for the first time. They all have these like kind of lived in dynamics that affect them as characters, which are more explored in later episodes. But it is started right in the middle.
So it's sort of like a niche ice skating community. That's what kind of gives you this feeling. There's like this ice skating competitor community, like everyone just kind of knows each other because they always go to the same competitions, which is pretty cool. And
which is interesting to me because like if I was framing an anime around ice skating and I wanted to be really in depth about it, like this anime definitely is. This one does not, I think, shy away from really getting into the nitty gritty of what competitive ice skating is, even if it's confusing and they have to explain it to the audience in a way. Like a way to do this type of anime usually is to have a new character, right, being introduced to this world, and we learn as he learns, basically as he enters. Yes. He would be he would be an up and comer, and he's like entering. It's like, oh, what does this mean? How do I do this? How do I do this? No, it's like this is a different approach. So to that.
in that case, in that sense, I kind of don't like the approach they took, because so the other thing is, as a new viewer, I assumed that Yuri was kind of like, because he got last place, that he was sort of like bottom dog. But I guess in the context of it, it kind of makes sense because he's still a competitor in these top tournaments, and he managed to actually be qualified for some of these competitions. So I guess that means he's sort of a top tier ice skater.
He's just the worst of the best,
it,
basically.
Exactly. Yeah. So just watching it for the first time, I was kind of surprised. Like later on in the series, you learn, okay, he spoiler alert, he gets really good and starts beating people, which seems out of nowhere, but I guess when you think of it from that perspective. But what I really want to get down to is because it starts in the middle and because it's a romance story, I feel like I don't feel the connection to these characters, and I don't know if they necessarily establish a strong connection with the viewer as the series goes on. It kind of, because it starts in the middle, to me it seems like it's kind of assumed that we should care about these characters, if that makes sense.
It does.
At least for me. I didn't particularly feel strongly to any character, to be honest. Which I think is one of its pitfalls for me personally.
Ah, man. See, that's where I just disagree with you. As we get introduced to like all these kind of just random side characters and we learn more about the skating community, I think almost each and every one of their backstories, to me, is one is interesting, and they're presented either one way or another. But then as we delve into them, as they talk just a little bit about themselves, I think in just a short amount of time, you really understand completely where most of them are coming from, in my opinion, and I think it's great.
Yeah, I mean the characters are good. It's just I don't feel connected. Yeah. Anyways, let's continue. So the next episode.
But I gotta say, just about
ahead.
that first episode itself. I think in the first act of subversion, which is I think this to me it's like this show's strong suit. It's when you kind of expect a thing to go a certain way. It's when he comes back and it seems like he kind of likes this girl. And he does in a sense in the girl. And you think that if this was like a normal anime, that would be the love interest, right? But he's like nervous around her, and then it's like a will they, won't they type thing. But then it's immediately shattered because she's married with 3 kids and happily too. I mean, and I was like,
yeah. Not even like he's not even like a dick or anything. He's like the guy.
Cool it seemed like the guy was like a dick when they were younger, but no, he cares about Yuri all the time, and he suits him up. It's like, oh. That I went into this thinking that, okay, this is going to be one thing, and then just almost immediately after it changes the dynamic of what I was thinking. So I think that's important because I think that happens a lot throughout the series, which we'll see in later episodes.
Right. Yep. So the next episode, so Victor has gone to Japan, leaving Russia, and we kind of view the repercussions of that. Essentially, his coach is like, dude, what are you doing? But not only that, the other Yuri, Russian Yuri, is pretty much jelly that Victor, a top skater from his own nation, left his team essentially.
And he does.
Yeah,
Victor is kind of a dick in that situation. The way he did that, because it's part of Victor's kind of character himself to like not seem like he understands the emotions of those around him or understands really the consequences of what he's doing. Yeah. Like he just upright leaves for Japan. It seems like just like one day, just abruptly tells his coach and tells Yuri the Yuri P, who I'm just gonna call Yurio from now on because that's what they call him in the show sometimes.
Yeah. Russian Yuri.
Russian Yuri is Yurio, who just abruptly leaves, and that shatters all of their plans. It looks like the coach was planning for Victor to continue winning consecutively, and Yurio wanted Victor to teach him after Victor promised to teach him himself. Yeah. And he doesn't. He just kind of leaves on a whim. And I think on the surface that kind of paints Victor as a dick, but what's not like overtly mentioned throughout the series, but it's like you kind of get cracks of it, is that Victor is just like deeply unhappy, that he doesn't really have motivation anymore. And that's like his character arc throughout this series, that he doesn't know why he's doing anything, and he's looking for something to really inspire him. Really? So that's the first step to kind of do it, masked behind a kind of a airhead type demeanor.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, because I actually I never really knew why Victor did what he did, just uproot himself and leave and coach this dude from Japan. I mean, he kind of, I think there's sort of a reason stated for it, but I don't know if it was necessarily convincing because it's only mentioned like 1 or 2 times, and I don't know. But yeah, I'd like to see what your so you. I guess we'll talk about your take on like why he left and what his arc is and stuff later, as we get closer to the end here.
Yeah.
But for now, I guess it's sort of a mystery as to why Victor chose to go coach
and just uproot everybody's life.
Exactly. Other than he saw a video of him being good at ice skating, so he's very eccentric and he's compulsive, I guess.
Compulsive. That's a great word to define Victor.
Yes, he's he does whatever the fuck he wants.
I feel like both the Russians are compulsive in that sense, because I think in one of the funniest bits of that episode, of the second episode, because Yurio comes hunting for him, right? Like he's like, you promised to teach me. I need to, I'm bringing you back basically, and he's like trying to spy, but as soon as he arrives in Japan, he's like kind of overwhelmed by like the beauty, and like he sees something really cool that he wants to take a picture of, and he's like, I can't, if I take this picture and post it on my Instagram, then Victor's gonna know I'm here, but I can't help myself, and he does it, and he does it anyway.
Yeah.
Which is, so I think they're both kind of impulsive people.
Yeah, I guess so. So yeah, anyways, Yuri, he himself flies to Japan to get Victor back, to make Victor uphold his promise that that Victor is basically going to make a short program for him. Because, that's what you do.
I would want a
when you're
program
ice
from the
skating with
5-time
Exactly.
consecutive Grand Prix winner.
Especially if he promised it to you.
Yeah. Yeah, if he did, yeah.
Victor,
come on, Victor.
Anyways, so the next episode,
it ends with Victor kind of liking this competition between them. So he's going to choreograph a program for both Yuris, basically both Yuri and Yurio, and if Yuri wins, Victor will remain in Japan. If Yurio wins, then Victor will return to Russia, basically. So that sets the stakes for the next episode.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is he gives the program to he kind of reverses the expectation that each of the Yuris thought they were going to get. The theme is love, and so there's one love song that's kind of more sexy and just like raw and kind of like
passionate.
Passionate.
Totally fit for Yurio.
Exactly, and then the other one's more tender, kind of low key, compassionate. That one, would fit Yuri more. But he gives the programs to the opposite person. He gives the tender, loving one to Yurio, and the sexy one to Yuri.
Which again works on the theme of kind of subverting, going against expectations.
Yeah, and so the name of the program for Yurio is Agape, and Yuri's is Eros. So these are the two programs that we actually see, not just in this upcoming episode 3, but throughout the whole series. Is they redo these programs over and over again, which isn't a bad thing.
Which is their whole arc, because it's really setting up their whole arcs for the rest of the show. It's like Yurio is very passionate, and he has to learn to be a little more tender, and Yuri has to be a little more assertive in himself. So they're both at kind of opposite ends of the spectrum, and as the series goes on, this is the kind of the turning point of like what they need to accomplish.
Yeah, definitely. And that's exactly what happens in episode 3. The two face off against each other with their respective programs, and the winner gets to become coached by Victor. And Yurio goes first with his Agape routine, and he's sort of struggling with it. He's stumbling with it. First, I should mention the ice skating sequences, of course, are the best parts of this anime. You'd hope so. It's an ice skating anime. So watching the routine that they do, but also listening to their monologue on the inside and their emotions as they're skating is just the high point of this anime every time. I kind of actually enjoy watching Yuri on Ice programs more than real life ice skating programs.
Oh yeah,
in some senses.
I mean,
because it's just beautifully made, and also there's sort of you can listen to their inner character moments.
Detail. I mean, it must be hard to animate ice skating, like in my opinion, because there's really specific moves that have to be done and animated down to the T. And like even when the characters mess up, you have to animate them messing up slightly, but not like fully. Like that's difficult to do.
Yeah, and thankfully they had an actual ice skating choreographer. So props to Kenji Miyamoto.
Shout out.
He's the one who choreographed all these awesome ice skating programs that we have the pleasure of watching.
Thank you, Kenji. If you're out there listening, because I'm sure you are, we like you a lot.
I know you're listening to this, Kenji. So yeah, anyways, Yurio continues with his Agape routine. He's having difficulty with it because he's not quite feeling the Agape. He's not really tender. That's not who he is.
He has the idea of what he wants to use to inspire him in that sense, because there's throughout his training, he tries to think of his grandfather, and that's he knows that is what's going to help him win. Like that's what's going to allow this Agape to be unlocked within him, but it's just not there yet as much as it can be. So he does a good performance. It's not reached its full potential.
Yeah. On the other hand, Yuri Katsuki, the Japanese Yuri, his Eros, his sort of visceral sexual ice skating is channeled towards his favorite food, which is pork cutlet bowl.
Yep.
And I've never had pork cutlet bowl. Have you had
I
that?
have not,
Sounds
but they
good.
look so freaking good.
Anime food sounds better than real
It
food.
does.
Every time I watch it,
does indeed.
it looks good. Yeah, so anyways, not only, so yeah, Yuri channels his ice skating towards his sexual love towards food. And he also puts a little twist on it. So I guess subverting expectations, which I didn't catch before. That's a good little analysis there, Kobe. Instead of going for the more masculine sexual energy, he actually gets he has his friend, his ballet dancer friend, teach him how to move more feminine and look more feminine. And so he does that in his ice skating routine. So his Eros is more kind of feels more, I guess, girly, I guess, but still very sexy.
Yeah. In the way that they do it. I mean, this is like kind of the first step that Yuri kind of takes of like not trying to be what other people expect him to be, but this is really him digging down and figuring out what works for him and how he can start succeeding his goals.
Yeah, and the two of them have their performances aren't perfect. I think they both kind of flub a little bit, but it's a good seed for what's to come for the rest of their performances, and it's a good foundation for their development, their character arcs, because they do these routines over and over again throughout the series, and each time they do it, there's like a new twist on it, and they just get better at it. And even though you're watching the same performance, it's different. There's a different
it really is.
experience.
Yeah, it is, because you see how they grow so much. Like if you watch this performance from the beginning as opposed to their last performances in there, you really see how hard they fought to change and do something different.
Yes. Also, I love the costumes.
Oh yeah,
that was one of my favorite parts about this anime. The costumes, man, they look so good.
Yeah.
It's all about the aesthetic.
Yeah, it is, in the environment that it creates. So good.
Yeah, and who wins, Kobe?
Our hero Yuri wins in a great way, because like after,
Whoa.
he wins indeed, and Victor gets to stay in Japan in a great turn. Like Yurio doesn't stay for the result because he knows, which is
he looks at Victor, and just looking at Victor's face, he knows that Victor likes Yuri's performance more than his.
Which is, and I think it's just I think at this point when I first watched this series, this is a great way to even though that Yurio wasn't painted as really a villain that much in this episode, like kind of, but like not really. But like there's a moment where they're bonding over in like the waterfall, and there's a moment where like Yuri is like struggling, and Yurio's like, "I'll teach you this move. Like I'm gonna teach you this move right now, like because you're gonna do this."
They're rivals, but they're not enemies.
They're not enemies. Like I think like at this episode, this would have been, I think, in a different anime, the point where like Yurio would have been off and started like plotting his revenge. Like he would have become the antagonist of this series and stuff. But he doesn't do that. I mean, he still becomes, which is something I like.
Yeah. They both go off and they do their hard work, and this sort of sets off the chain of events, which leads them to the Grand Prix series, which is the end game of the series. It's they both vow to win it, and now the whole series is figuring out which one's going to win.
Right. So then, like as we move on to the next, I guess, stage after that first arc is done, the way I see it, because we're moving on to episode 4 right now. Like episode 4 and episode 10 are basically, to me, cool off episodes. In my opinion, there's a lot of action in it, like before that and after that. But both episode 4 and episode 10, kind of pause to like just to breathe like a little bit, which to me I think plays with works for like the structure of the show, because that's something I enjoy, and I think they did well.
Yeah, and there's not really much to say. Like you said, it's a cool off episode 4. Although one thing that I found really interesting that I didn't know about ice skating before was that Yurio kind of has a sort of not out of the blue, but kind of like a short comment where he says like he wants to take advantage of his abilities before his body matures. Like he wants to be able to do a bunch of spins and like be really flexible and stuff. So I never realized that, like, I guess as an ice skater, your professional life is very, very limited. I guess in any sport, really, like you only have like a set period of time, but I guess in ice skating, it makes sense because, you're only nimble and thin so much for so long in your life.
To do all the stuff
that's just something I never noticed.
Which is,
to do.
And especially for Victor. I think Victor's old compared to like a lot of people.
For ice skating standards, yeah. He's like 26, I believe, right?
Yeah, I thought...
I think he's 25, 26.
I think so, because another character... I know Christoph is also 26, but that doesn't make any sense, because he would have to be older than
So and then
Kristoff.
he's like, I thought Kristoff was 25 and Victor was 27 or something.
I would say I would say 27 or 28. He's not a young pup.
He's definitely not, but he still looks good.
Yeah, he does.
Good looking dude.
Yeah, he is.
Also, there's also clips of him when he's ice skating as a kid, and he's got like super long hair. It's just like
he's
flowing
luscious.
around.
He's just elegant,
gorgeous.
just swan.
He is very nice. Anyways, gay.
Yeah. So basically, the big thing in episode 4 is that
They're training. They're all training.
Yeah, they're training. Yurio like recruits this famous Russian ballerina to train him. And Yuri picks his music, and he finds the music that inspires him. Which is of course, what's his music piece titled?
It's called Yuri on Ice.
Whoa!
That's the name of the show. Whoa.
It's crazy. Yeah, this is the episode that also kind of breaks down like how the rest of the series is going to work, because this is like, I think you were mentioning it's like you don't like the info dump.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
More so.
There are portions of this anime where they just dump a bunch of exposition on you, whether it be the backstory, whether it be the rules, whether it be what's going on currently, like a catch up, which is, I guess it's a stylistic decision, because they do it in kind of a cutesy way. They have like chibi characters on the screen explaining things. There's text on the screen. So it's really quick. But I don't know. It's still, I still think they could have done a better job with that. But I'm not going to fault it too much, because it didn't bother me too much. I thought it was going to, because it did that in the first episode. I thought they were going to do that like every episode, but they actually only do it occasionally. So it wasn't so bad. But still, I usually like it when they don't have exposition.
That's true. I just felt like this episode needed it, because as it's mentioned before, it's like what's basically going to happen for the rest of the series is that because Yuri did so poorly last year, he has to do a Japanese qualifying round to even qualify again to compete for the finals. And then if he does well in the Japanese qualifying round, he has to do well in 2 cups. There's a China Cup and there's a Russia Cup, where all these competitors kind of skate together. And then if he wins, and if he's in the top 6 of those Russia Cup and China Cup, then those top 6 compete for the Grand Prix final.
Yes. So he's basically he has a really long uphill battle to go through, and that brings us into episode 5, which is the qualifying competition. So this is his first competition of the whole season, again, it's beautiful watching him ice skate. His first program, the short program, he gets a little sloppy, and Victor kind of says, "Hey, I told you, you shouldn't be doing those crazy jumps. We didn't practice too much." And what does he do?
He does those jumps.
He does the complete opposite of what Victor tells him to do.
Yeah.
Victor actually is like, "Oh, that's cool," because it sort of sets up a parallel. I think Victor mentioned something about how like he was rebellious towards his coach too.
Yeah.
And and again, this is, I guess, sort of showing the development of Yuri's maturity. He's becoming more assertive. He's not becoming
exactly. This episode itself is like the one episode that's really the ice skating isn't that important, because everyone knows this is episode 5 of he's not going to lose here, so you got to do something else with it. You got to show what else he needs to learn, which is why his interactions with other skater who is I believe is Minami. Minami. It's like a young skater who idolizes kind of Yuri like a lot, and it's his friend, and she's like, and then at first off, Yuri kind of is trying to stay focused on his work. Basically, he's trying to stay focused on it and kind of brushes Minami off, which makes Minami a little sad, because Minami is his hero, and that's where. And then Yuri and then Victor kind of talks to him about how that's kind of a shitty thing to do. And then in the end, the kind of a climactic when Minami is kind of skating and not doing really well. Minami's not a great skater, but he's like an energetic skater in a sense. But Yuri really cheers for him, and believes in him, which is really the point of this ice skating community. In my opinion, it's just like all these characters are kind of friends in the sense. And it's better when you kind of root for one another and not tear each other down. And this is kind of an excellent setup for like later on, is when Yuri and Yurio kind of start getting more like rivalry based, Yuri never sees this as like a rivalry. He always wants Yurio to do well. He wants all of his fellow skaters to do really well. When someone does really well in a competition, he's not sad. He's actually very happy. And I think this episode just kind of checks off his next piece of character development.
Yeah, I mean, when someone does really well, he either gets really happy or really fucking nervous.
Oh yeah,
which I guess that's a. I mean, I'm not an ice skater, but I can imagine that's a pretty realistic emotion to feel. I guess it's kind of an interesting. That's sort of an interesting aspect of the sport of ice skating itself. You know, because it's a sort of an individual performance-based sport. After you're done with your performance, you kind of just lay back and what's done is done, and you just cheer on for the other people. So that's kind of what. A part of the sport that allows that kind of camaraderie to occur, because even though you're competing against other people, it's not like a direct confrontation on the battlefield like other sports, So I think that's kind of interesting about ice skating.
And this episode doesn't have like a lot of like overarching things. Not a whole lot, like some little things that I think give the show some like character and stuff. Like I really like Yuri's free program, because like it's like it tells a story in a sense. Like all these programs, as you learn as you watch these people skate, is they're trying to tell a story on ice skating, which is they're not just like going around just like flip, flip, flip. They're trying to talk about something. And Yuri's program is interesting because it starts off as like he's very stiff and he's troubled because that's before Victor came into his life. And then once Victor did like kind of appear, then he becomes more fluid and more comfortable with like who he is basically. And he finishes his free program like really strong, which is great. Is it something I would never have thought about while watching figure skating, while people jump around on ice?
Yeah, I never thought of that either. I never viewed. I mean, I guess it's still kind of difficult for me to really interpret ice skating programs. Like if they didn't lay it out, because they sort of lay out explicitly in some senses, in some performances, what they're actually skating about. But it's not nothing. I would never have noticed it if not for this anime.
So it just ends. This episode ends with he wins first place, of course, and then he announces in a kind of grand gesture that his Grand Prix program theme. What's his program theme going to be for the rest of the series?
The theme is love, inspired by Victor.
And he vows to win a gold medal.
Yeah, and again, showing signs of him becoming more assertive and showing off what he's learning, because he's more forthright. He announces it to a public broadcast station, so it's very bold of him, I suppose. So yeah, the next episode is the
China Cup.
The China Cup. So, and this is one of the cups that'll actually help him qualify for the Grand Prix. And here we meet like a bunch of characters. I'm not going to list them all off, but this is when you kind of get to learn a little bit more about the whole community, because each character is represented, and I believe you get to see some of their programs. You get to see each of their programs, right? Because this is the short program.
You watch them all. This is when you start the short program. There's in ice skating you have two programs. You have the short program and you have the free program. The short program is really it's pretty self-explanatory. It's very short, choreographed thing that you have to do, and then the free program is it's more free skating. It's kind of more storytelling in a sense.
Yes, and we are also introduced to my favorite skater, Christophe Giacometti.
Christophe is your favorite?
Yeah, dude, he's hilarious. I love his short program is very like his short program is what Yuri's program would have been if it was a male sexual thing.
Oh so, if Yuri was more experienced, he would be.
So Christophe Giacometti, really short on his character. He's a guy that also has adored Victor since he was young, and since then he's sort of placed alongside Christophe, but never Victor, but never really surpassing him. So in this season, his biggest competitor Victor is out of the season, but he still seeks to prove himself. He thinks that this will be his time to shine.
If Victor if everyone did have a rival in the show, Christophe would be Victor's, while like Yurio is Yuri's. Like Christophe is definitely Victor's rival.
Yeah. But yeah, Christophe, I just love the way they frame and direct his sequence is hilarious, because like he has a lot of sexual moves. There's a part where he kind of like sticks out his butt a little bit, and like the camera's
it's
like
the
right
most
there.
Well-defined butt in anime that like I could see. I'm like, damn.
And he loves coming. Like he keeps on coming during his ice skating performances. Like,
which has to be messy. Like I don't. Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So first off, I didn't see no boners. So What does he just come with a flaccid
tuck.
dick or something?
No, you got to tuck.
Oh, I see. Oh, that would be really messy then, wouldn't it?
I'm sure it would be. I would not want to clean Kristoff's
his
suit afterwards. I'm sure a lot of people would, because people love Kristoff. Kristoff is the sexy bad boy skater.
Yeah. Yeah, so are any of these skaters your favorite, or
not my favorite? I like these skaters in the sense of, because like Pitchet from Thailand, it's like I like his story just because he's Thailand's first kind of serious skater in so long, and he's also Yuri's friend, which is another theme of, as we were going back to like talk about how all these skaters kind of know each other. Like Pitchet grew up with Yuri and trained with Yuri, and is now being trained by Yuri's old coach before Victor, which is just more how they're all related and stuff. And he's not great. He's not a great skater, but he's happy to be there and ready to bring. So I like Pitchet. And the one side character who I really liked, it's like the only side character I'll really go into, is Georgy Popovich, who's also from Russia. He was the one who's like, his short program is inspired because like his girlfriend left him, and he's like so sad in his thing.
Like this guy was great.
Yeah, he's like, and he first, because his short program, his free program, tell like an awesome story, I think, because it's like because in the first day, like, he hates himself. He's so angry with himself. Like, he's the witch that cursed the girl and stuff. And he's crying because he misses his girlfriend, who's also a competitive skater and who's like in the audience, like watching him. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just
with his new with her new boyfriend. It looks like
which I actually don't know. Is her girlfriend the one who Yuri was training with? The one who Yuri Yurio trained with in Russia? Is that the same girl? I realized Giorgio's from Russia.
I have no idea.
And she dated somebody. Oh, I don't know if that's her. Anyway, again, it shows everyone's characters' kind of connection to each other. But Georgie is just a character who, it's like, if there's one character I wish we saw more of, it's him. Because this is just Yuri on Ice's way of just like introducing a character really quickly, fleshing him out really quickly, showing his story through skating, but then like not really going anywhere else with him.
Yeah, it definitely gives respect to the character, and especially shows you learn about them through their ice skating, which I think is a very clever thing about this show. Is you learn about what's going on in their heads and why they chose to do this performance and why they are telling this story. So yeah, Giorgio's story is really interesting. First of all, he's got crazy makeup, he's got a super crazy outfit, and his short program was like really intense. It was. Because usually ice skating is all very like, elegant and majestic. At least what I've been exposed to has all been kind of that same theme. But his was sort of like crazy.
Yeah, like out there and stuff, which is great. I mean, oh my God.
Yeah. It was fun to watch.
The other competitors, there's only one other competitor. There's like Leo from like the US. I like the song that Leo used. And he's the guy who won like Skate America. And like there's a quick little flash about how he uses music to like inspire him and like how music helped him. Mm-hmm. But it's like, that's a cool little character thing, but I give no shits about Leo. But, yeah.
Yeah, so this is the first episode where they're sort of setting up a lot of characters. And had I known that this series was going to be longer than one season, because I thought it was just going to be like a one-season anime. I always expect an anime to kind of tell its story within the season. But it seems like they're sort of introducing all these characters to have, I guess, more of a story maybe in the next season or in the season after that.
It's building a world.
But it's building a world, which I didn't realize that. So at the first when I watched this, I was like, I don't know if I really care about these. Because again, especially some of them don't really get much screen time beyond this episode and the next one. But I still hold to my belief, though, that I think one of the biggest flaws of this anime is also that I don't really buy the developments of the relationship between Victor and Yuri. Like, there's just... I mean, I think it's because it's very heavy on the ice skating and introducing the other characters that we don't really get many, I feel, genuine moments between Yuri and Victor. Every moment they share is on the ice rink, which I guess they have to pack it all in into one season.
That's the entire point.
I know I know, but even still, though, the moments that they have, I'm not convinced. It doesn't make any sense. Like what? Okay, so basically, Yuri likes Victor because he's a god of ice skating, so of course everyone's gonna have a crush on him. Mm-hmm. But then what happens beyond that? I'm not sure. And then for Victor, I don't know why he likes Yuri. Like, so we're so this is episode, what is it, episode 6? So basically we're halfway through the series, and I just don't buy that there is like a chemistry between them. It's mostly just like anytime there's a moment, it's like a very like, oh, their faces are up close like this, and yeah, I'm gonna promise you I'm gonna win this. Oh yeah, I really like that, Yuri. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It just it doesn't seem like a very natural romance to me.
To me,
And so,
it's yeah.
sorry, I was to finish my
Yeah,
point. I was gonna say, I wish that they would have, I guess, reduced the amount of other side characters
Mhm.
in order to focus more on their relationship
Okay.
and the development of it, which I don't think they did a very good job of developing.
Okay. That's a fair point. I definitely see that. I definitely agree with like after I remember the first time I watched it, there's like so many characters that like I could see where it's like you don't know who to focus on. Like Kristoff is just one of like four people, you know, or like who skate and stuff. It's just like with all of them, and he's given equal screen time as all of them. It's like you don't know that Kristoff is going to go on to be
Yeah,
one of the more important characters.
and we haven't even introduced all the characters yet. We've introduced a whole bunch in this episode, but there's still a whole bunch more to be introduced. And yeah,
right,
yeah.
which so I agree with you on that front. In terms of their romance, which is like directed on the ice,
Like, why do they start to like each other? That's the only thing that I still have trouble kind of buying into in this anime.
to me, it's because they both start off on completely opposite planes. Like as we called Victor repeatedly, like Victor is a god, right? Like he's adored. He's on top, and then Yuri is basically on the bottom because he's struggling. He's hurt. He doesn't know who he is as a person. And this series is about basically them meeting in the middle. It's Victor becoming inspired by someone that he's teaching and fostering a relationship with. In the sense of in filling a hole that Victor has in himself that he's had for quite some time, because winning is become pointless to him, that he needs something else to inspire, and he finds that in Yuri. And then Yuri, it's more of getting to a point where he's on Victor's level, where he doesn't see Victor as a god anymore. As he gets to know Victor, there's a scene in the second or third episode, I believe, when he's like, I realize I can't talk to Victor because the only thought I have of Victor is the persona, is the idea of Victor, because I've worshipped Victor for so long. It's like I can't have a conversation with him. And then once he breaks through that barrier and becomes more confident, that awakens something within Yuri. And I think when you find someone who does that in you, you're of course going to be connected with them, and it's just these two characters who find that connection with one another.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, so what? Okay, so what specifically does Yuri? Okay, what specifically about Victor does Yuri fall in love with, and what specifically about? Wait, did I say that right? What specifically about Victor does Yuri fall in love with, and what specifically about Yuri does Victor fall in love with?
Obviously, it's pork cutlet bowls, because Victor loves those more than anything.
Yes, it's pork cutlet bowls. I guess that's the answer.
I'm trying to think of what specifically he falls in love with.
Because I mean, okay, so because outside the ice skating rink, like if these two weren't ice skaters, I couldn't see them falling in love with each other. Does that make sense?
That's
and from that sense, I don't really see it as kind of like truly genuine. And maybe it's not supposed to be. I mean, maybe it is sort of like a fling romance, sort of like, oh, in the moments, you know, this ice skating and this competition, it stirs up emotions, and in those situations, that kind of love can foster. Maybe that's why I don't really see it as like genuine, and maybe it's not supposed to be.
I would agree with that if because this is an anime about ice skating. So it's like if this was about anything else, and these were just two characters interacting with each other and talking and not sharing their love of ice skating, then I would agree. I don't know what they would fall in love and bond over, but just because both of them share this passion for ice skating, and this anime is framed around ice skating, it's like I think it's believable that they would fall in love when the whole focus of the anime is ice skating, and both of them just love ice skating more than anything on this earth. Like I think they have that commonality, which I think makes it okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't disagree. It's so, I mean, it's basically a workplace romance.
Yeah,
is what it is.
Yeah, I see your point. Yeah,
you know what I mean. Yeah, so like, I don't know. I guess we just have different perspectives on love or something. I don't know, but yeah. So the romance continues, and Yuri gets first place on the short program. and that puts him in a really good running for the China Cup.
Yep.
And
other big things, I guess, in that episode is just is Kristoff basically telling Yuri, you should let Victor return to the ice. You're keeping him from the ice. And as we know, it's it's a big thing, especially for Kristoff, because as you learned from Kristoff, he just wants Victor to return more so than anything.
Yes, it seems like everyone wants Victor to return. Everyone kind of sees Yuri as kind of holding him back and being his coach, and it's up to Yuri to kind of prove them all wrong that he's not a waste of time, and that sort of pressure is on Yuri, which really shows itself in the next episode. Mm-hmm. Yuri, on the next day of the free skate, so the free skate is the next program. Mm-hmm. Yuri, I guess he gets really nervous, and he doesn't get enough sleep because everyone's like calling him saying, "Oh, you did so great," and then he doesn't get any sleep. So this really adds to his stress. And basically, the whole day he's really nervous because other people are, they're bringing on their A game, and he's hearing the cheers. Like I said, when other people are doing well, he either is happy or he's freaking the fuck out. And right now, he's freaking the fuck out. Mm-hmm. And Victor doesn't know what to do because Victor's never really he's never done this. He's an amateur coach. He doesn't know how to coach people.
Yeah. So he's like, and this mindset is just like, I thought this was emotional in the sense, but also kind of funny. Like at the same time, when like Yuri's like looking at Victor's looking at Yuri, who's like freaking out. He's like, ice skaters' hearts are fragile. What happens if I break it?
Yeah. What the fuck kind of logic is that?
Let's just see what happens.
That just kind of adds to the theory that Victor is actually just a dick. He just doesn't really understand people. Because he's a god and everyone has to pander to him instead of him doing it the other way around,
Yeah,
which makes sense,
So he tries to say, what does he say? He says,
I don't even know. Does he actually motivate him? I don't think he does.
No, not at this point, but it changes. It kind of does and kind of not, because it tells Victor what he needs to do. It's like, because Victor says, if you don't win, I'm going to quit or something. Like, right? Like, it's if you don't get gold, I'm going to quit. He tries the tough love approach. Yeah. And this doesn't
destroys him.
Because Yuri's just like, why? Why would you do that? Because that's what it really is, and that's what it comes down to. It's like Yuri doesn't need anything else. Like what Yuri needs more than anything is he just needs Victor to have faith in him. And if Victor has faith in him, his idol, his mentor, his coach, and he just sees that he has faith in him, then he can do this. Then he knows he can. But Victor does the exact opposite of what is that. And then Victor realizes his mistake.
Yeah, and I mean, Victor doesn't even really end up motivating him because after this sequence, it's Yuri's turn to compete, and he just goes out on the ice. I'm not even sure if they exchange moments before they go onto the program, but it seems like Yuri just feels better after crying. Like that just seems like what happened.
He does. He needed that. He needed to get it out of his system. I think there was a line, it's like most figure skaters cry beforehand or something, or before or after.
Yeah.
Most figure skaters cry. I've never seen someone cry beforehand or something. But it is what kind of spark, that kind of anger, even though Yuri kind of turns against it and says like that's the wrong thing to do, it really does inspire him, because in his program, Yuri does something that most people can't do, which is a quadruple flip. And it's crazy when he does it, because he does it at the end where like stamina is supposed to be really low, that Yuri's like, I can do this then, and he does. And it surprises Victor. It surprises everybody.
He doesn't quite land it, but he tries it.
Yeah,
the fact that he even attempts it is noteworthy. Yeah, and it's this bold move that basically wins him not only the competition, but he wins a surprise kiss. Ooh!
Does he win? Yeah, he does. When Victor because like Yuri surprised him on ice. So Victor surprises him by kissing him.
Yeah,
their first kiss.
Yeah, Yuri runs over to Victor, and Victor tackles him on the ice, breaking his spine, and that's the end of the series.
And that's the end of everything.
Yeah, but yeah.
No, but he doesn't win. He doesn't win the series.
Oh, I thought he did.
No, pitch it. Thailand. He wins.
Does he win silver then? He wins silver.
Yeah, Yuri wins silver.
He qualifies. That's what I meant.
Yeah, he qualifies.
He's able to move on basically.
Yeah.
Fidget. Is that how you spell? How do you pronounce his name?
I don't know how. Pitchit. It's Phichit. I don't know how you say that.
I say Fidget, like fidget spinner.
Fidget. Yeah. Okay. His name is. He is the fidget spinner.
Fidget spinner. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So he's able to qualify, and we jump right into the next episode, where he goes to the Russia Cup, the Ross Telecom Cup.
Yep.
And again, we meet a whole bunch of characters. Most of them are, side characters, and they each have their own personalities. We won't go into each of them, except for I do want to talk about one of them. His name is Michelle Crispino, and he's the weirdest competitor because he's the guy that's got like a boner for his sister or something.
Yeah, it's like a weird random love triangle between Michelle, between Sala, and between Emil, and it's just another little side
story. Yeah, subplot. It's the B story.
Yeah. Here's my favorite part about this episode. There's a moment is when it's Yurio meets his grandpa basically in Russia to do this cup, and he meets his and it's I think it's hilarious because again the show is about like subverting expectations. It's like Yurio is like this mopey and like this really angry teen like all the time, but he's also really dorky. Like at like a lot of times, like when he sees his grandpa, he's so overcome with love that he like hugs him and
and he breaks his back.
yeah, it's hilarious. Like don't do this.
Yeah, he's a grandpa's boy, which is a nice layer of his character.
Yeah,
it's sort of contrast with his sort of gruff, aggressive personality, so his grandpa means everything to him. It was in a flashback prior to this. We kind of see that his grandpa was always there to support him at all these ice skating events, which I guess implies that his parents weren't really supportive. I guess because if his grandpa was the one being there for him, maybe his parents are dead or separated or don't give a fuck, which are all very terrible. Anyways, grandpa is very special to Yurio, and Yurio's favorite food is
pierogies.
Pierogies, yeah.
Yep,
I've never had a pierogi. Have you had a pierogi?
I have. I've had in Seattle. They're really, really good. They are really good.
What is inside a pierogi? Like normal
meat.
Just meat.
Yeah, like there's like potatoes and it's like Russian stuff. It's pretty good.
Russian stuff.
Vodka.
Russian vodka. Oh, nice. It's just steeped in vodka. That's all it is. It's just vodka bread. But yeah. And unfortunately, Yurio's grandpa is not here to watch him in his short program.
Which that is the one thing I don't understand. Just like, is he sick? Like that's one thing I wish they could have fleshed out just like a little more. Like there's Yurio, obviously, like the way that interaction plays, it seems like at first that the show doesn't mention it, but the way I interpreted that is that Yurio's afraid that he offended his grandpa because they're driving in the car together and the grandpa gives him pierogies, which is supposed to be Yurio's like favorite food. And he's eating them and he loves them. He loves them so much, but he's just like, Grandpa, have you ever had a pork cutlet bowl before? And he's you like those now? And he's like, oh no, I didn't mean that. I really was just mentioning these. Like, these are still really good. And it's like, that's the last scene. And then the next scene is like the grandpa not showing up for the short program.
He was just so pissed off about the pierogi thing. My theory on this is that, I guess spoiler alert, like next episode, his grandpa comes back and he gives him a new pierogi which has pork cutlet bowl contents in it.
Which is on the rewatch, that was my favorite moment throughout the whole series.
Yeah, so I think the reason he was gone is because he was making those. He's probably like Googling like, how do I make pork?
How the fuck do I put pork in a pierogi?
Yeah, how do I put rice in a pierogi?
Oh yeah,
that does sound complicated. But yeah, anyways, Yurio is not really on his A game. We see his Agape program again, and Yuri, he's at this competition as well. He does really well. A flawless performance.
Yeah, flawless.
But he still comes in second to JJ, King JJ.
Oh my god.
Do you like King JJ? Is he your favorite skater?
JJ is my favorite skater.
Okay, yeah.
Do you hate JJ?
I don't hate him, but he's such a typical he's the typical cocky alpha male character where his song is about him.
Yeah,
right?
he wrote his own song about himself. The theme of King JJ, which is a song I have on my iPod, and I listen to it at least once or twice a week. I love that. I love that song. It's like, I'm the big JJ dog, and he has JJ's girls who like follow him because he's the rock star.
He does that whole JJ symbol.
Yeah, it's JJ style.
It's JJ style. And
again, I would agree. I would not like him if because we'll explore his arc. But if his arc didn't go the way it did, I would have hated him. I wouldn't have liked him
exactly.
Much, but it's like the way they handle him as a character, I just think to me is fantastic.
Yeah, he is a very one-dimensional character for now.
Yeah. And
for now, that's all we need from him, and I guess that's okay. If he was like that the whole series, then I think he would have been Just another side character. But anyways, he becomes first place for the short program.
Yeah,
and
he destroys basically.
yeah, because he's the fucking king.
Yeah, he's
King
the king.
JJ.
He's King JJ.
That's something we should mention is the songs in this anime are really good.
Yeah.
The intro song, the opening theme, History Maker is really good. I just
make
love
history. Great song.
Yeah, it's a great song,
You know,
and I just love that animated opening.
Yeah. Oh, that opening's great. But that song, History Maker, was actually on Japan's top like Billboard charts. Like I was like playing like a pop song.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Yeah.
The weird thing about the song though is like is it like a Japanese dude who's singing the song? Because it sounds like the person that's singing it is not someone whose English is their first language.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
There's a bit of an accent there, but it's still really good. There's covers of it
They're great covers
on YouTube, which I listen to sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing,
Go ahead.
It's just like about this episode because like everyone kind of performs, and this kind of is a callback to Yuri's first qualifying match when he like encouraged Minami. Like after Yuri finishes like his match, Rio walks up and insults him. And it's just like really mad, like get out of my way, pig, like as he calls him like throughout like the whole series. But then
I guess he's kind of a villain in that sense.
But then as soon as he walks up, but then again, it's like Victor and Yuri at each other and just like his costume is so beautiful. Like go Yurio, go! Like they like ignore everything that he just insults them and like are rooting for him.
Yeah. Yeah, they're all good sports. I think that's the point of it. There's no there's not much room for like petty, I'm gonna like I wish he would just fall and like crack his spine on the ice.
Everyone wants everyone to be at their best because they don't want to beat not the best. They want to be on top.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. That makes sense. Yeah. So yeah, and at the end of this episode, it's a bit contrived, I think, but basically Victor's dog is choking on something, and then so Yuri has Victor fly home to Japan. And I don't know the flight time between Russia and Japan, but I feel like okay, so one of two things happen. Either one, he's okay, or one, the dog dies. In both cases, Victor arrives too late. So
I would imagine. I really don't know what the flight difference is.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine the two being very far. I'm also very shitty at geography, so they could be next door neighbors, and I wouldn't even know. But yeah, it just seems kind of to me it seems contrived, and the whole purpose of it is to basically have Yuri be by himself and see how he performs on his own.
To me, it would have been contrived if they didn't do a good job of setting it up early on. In the very first episode, you learn that Yuri's dog died.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I guess so. So like. Yeah, Yuri's dog dies, and he doesn't want Victor's dog to die, so he has Victor fly home. And I'll forgive it for that, but it's still kind of out of nowhere to me. But still, I guess kind of the
especially because nothing really comes of it.
Exactly, that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say like there's no payoff to Victor being gone, other than because for a moment Yuri adopts or Yuri's old coach who's coaching Yurio takes on Yuri for the next competition, but he doesn't really add anything new. Like there's no new coach student relationship dynamic that's added to Yuri's arc when Victor leaves and takes on his old coach.
Maybe it's supposed to show because when he's gone, he doesn't do very well. Like his first performance was flawless. But when Victor is gone, he doesn't do he fumbles. He falters without Victor, which shows that he's not good enough. He's great with Victor and he's a great skater, but he needs his next arc of him learning needs to have him doing it on his own and not doing it with Victor.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, the only thing I'd say is he's done badly with Victor though, too, in the past. So it's like, I mean, he's gone, but he does bad. I mean, he had a past performance when his program wasn't, up to par, even with Victor around. I guess he does even worse with Victor not around, I guess. But, I mean, whatever comes out of it, it doesn't feel like it's felt throughout the season, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it was kind of like a one-note thing and sort of tossed aside and never really mentioned again. So they don't build off of it. I agree. Nonetheless, so the next episode, Yuri doesn't do as well. But on the other hand, so they flip it around. So Yuri doesn't do very well in this one, whereas Yuri did great in the last one. But in this one, Yurio Yurio does a crazy performance. I think this is the first we see of his short program or his free program.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's awesome. He has a cool costume.
Yeah, it does.
And his hair is so beautiful.
It's such a great costume.
Yes.
And it's because his grandpa, as we mentioned before, his grandpa brought him the pork cutlet pierogi.
Yeah, that's right.
And
that's his power.
Yeah,
his source
so
of power
it basically unlocks the agape within him.
Indeed, yeah. He really feels that agape in his stomach.
So much agape.
So Yuri barely squeaks by qualifying for the Grand Prix final, and at the end, like you said, they share a little bit of a moment, Yuri and Yurio. Yuri's kind of down in the dumps, but Yurio's like, hey, you don't deserve to be as sad as I do right now. What are you doing? Here, have some pierogi.
Yeah, have a friend. Yeah, it's just like shows their friendship.
Yes.
They don't hate each other. They're rivals, but they're not enemies, which is just, as you mentioned that earlier on in this podcast. And it's just a great way to describe it.
Uh-huh.
And it ends in kind of a big way, because this is basically the marriage proposal in a sense, because Yuri asks Victor to be his coach until he retires.
Yes, and then Victor says, "I hope you never retire." So it's like,
so they want to be together forever.
Yep. Gay.
Yay.
Yeah. So now we're coming down to the home stretch. Episode 10 is one of those rest episodes, like you said. So, really not much to say. Pretty much everyone that I guess we should mention who qualified for the finalists. So.
Yeah.
We've got Yuri, Yurio, we got Kristoff, we've got
JJ.
Otabek, JJ, of course, Otabek, who we haven't seen before, and Fidget. So those are the six.
And Otabek, I think, is an interesting character because like he comes in late in the game, but I think we're not supposed to know a lot about Otabek, which is interesting. Like they make a joke. It's like, I don't know who you are. Because he doesn't give much. He's not very emotional. He's not very.
He's your typical standoffish dude.
Yeah, but what comes into this competition basically, and in a really sweet scene, he goes to Yurio and asks to be his friend, which creates just like this kind of bromance between Otabek and Yurio, and just like you want to be friends? It's like, yeah, we can do that.
Yes. Yeah, and so I think if Otabek is a combination between Fidget and Yurio, because he's standoffish like Yurio is, but he's also like Fidget in that he's kind of a breakout star, because like Kazakhstan I guess doesn't really have a big ice skating scene, at least not what I mean, not that it seems like it. So like he's sort of needed to train twice as hard as everyone else just to get here, and I guess him and Yurio are sort of from that same sort of view the competition from that same perspective, which is why they have that special connection.
So like this episode itself, it's like I like breaking down this episode because I think a lot of small moments happen that I really like, because I think it starts off. It's the first episode narrated by Victor and not Yuri, which I think is kind of interesting.
Oh, that's right. We see it from his point of view this time.
Yeah, his point of view, and it starts off with him with Kristoff, and because he's kind of soaking, and it shows like their rivalry together, but which shows like subverting expectations. Like Kristoff obviously wants Victor to come back to skating, and like he's kind of he sees him as his rival and he wants to beat Victor, but then the two just kind of hang out in the hot tub together and take sexy selfies of one another.
They're still chilling, they're still friends, they're still sexy friends.
And so this is like the biggest moment I think of the show. It's like romance wise, this is when they go out shopping, right? You know what happens when they go out shopping?
They go shopping, and Yuri's kind of like looking for something, and Victor's like, I wonder what he's looking for. He's always like this when he's thinking of something, and Yuri finds what he wants. He finds a jewelry store, and he finds a pair of gold rings, and they're matching. It's a matching pair for himself and for Victor. So this is like formalizing their relationship.
They stand in front of a church, and they put these rings on one another.
Yes.
So this is basically them marrying.
It's super on the nose. Of course, everyone else, they have a little dinner with everyone, and then people are like, oh, the rings. So the rings are on the right hand, I believe. But everyone's still like, oh my God, are you guys married? Oh, look, everyone, he's married. And Yuri's flustered, and Victor's like, these are
he's like, they're not wedding rings. Yuri's like, oh, he's like, they're engagement rings. Like, oh.
Yeah, there we go. That's what he says. Yeah. And he says we're only. Does he say something like
We'll
we're only gonna follow through if he wins
we'll
gold?
get married once Yuri wins. And then what's great is like
Yes.
because they're all the skaters again are just hanging out. Like they all go to dinner together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
it
sounds
sounds really
fun,
great.
man.
And they're all like, "Oh, now this guy's gonna win gold. That's interesting." And then this is the part of the story where it's like what you mentioned in the first one. Like we're starting in the middle, and this is the episode that really reinforces that because they all talk about the year previously, about where they kind of first all met, and they show like the party, like after the Grand Prix, like Yuri got really drunk and danced like a fool. And like challenge and Yurio has like great lines like, you made me challenge you to a drunk dance off and I couldn't not accept because I had to beat you. So that and they're
Yeah. And of course Kristoff said that he was like stripping on like this pole. Crazy Kristoff. But yeah, so anyways, yeah, this is, and not only that, but he not only does he dance really drunkenly, but he also I think this is the first instance of Yuri asking Victor to be his coach.
Yeah, it reframes everything in my opinion.
So, okay, well, this is what confuses me. So when he tells that to Victor, so this is in the flashback, drunk Yuri asks Victor to be his coach. Victor is like, he's like, oh, like he's got this look on his face like, oh my God, this guy wants me to be his coach?
Yeah.
So what does that mean? Does that mean that he went to Yuri just because of that? Like he just...
Not just because of that, because imagine, because this is just after the Grand Prix where Victor won his 5th consecutive gold medal. And Victor's lost. Victor's empty. Victor doesn't get the same thrill out of this.
Wait,
and
Victor lost this one?
No, sorry. He won his 5th consecutive gold medal. Sorry.
Okay.
So he just won it, and he feels empty. Like no, he feels lost. Like there's no satisfaction in that. And then something awakens in him when this drunk, cute little kid comes up to him and says, "Victor, I love you. Please be my coach." And you can tell like that moment is just like, oh,
it's like a light bulb.
Yeah, it's just like,
ding.
I could do this. And then it kind of implies that it wasn't just Yuri's figure skating performance that got Victor's attention on him in the first episode. It's just like Victor was kind of watching him, like, and it's just like, oh, shit.
Is there a moment though where we actually see that? Because that makes sense, but I don't notice. I mean, I don't remember there being any specific character moment where that's a revelation to the audience, like to the viewer, that he feels empty. Is there a little moment? Because I don't remember that.
Well, I think it's not like it's like a audience revelation, but we're supposed to kind of see that in the text of why Victor's giving it all up to search for something, and why he takes such an interest in Yuri. It's because he's already conquered this world, and he doesn't. And this is a show about inspiration and finding people to inspire you. Like Yurio is inspired by Yuri to be better. Kristoff is inspired by Victor to be better, but Victor didn't have anybody to really inspire him. And
yeah, I guess so. I guess I don't know if I'm convinced by that. That's probably the reason. That makes sense. But I don't, because it's not like actually in the anime. I don't know. It just seems too inferred. I don't know. I'm not too bright though, so maybe that's why. But the one explicit thing that they do say, that I do remember him saying was that like he, in each of his performances, he wants to surprise people.
Yeah.
So he's always wanted to surprise people, and he's been kind of, I guess, running out of ways to surprise people. So I think that's why I think that's one of the explicitly stated reasons as to why he wanted to coach Yuri, because he wanted to surprise.
It definitely is a surprise.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. So I mean, yeah.
This cool. And then I guess the rest of this episode is just, there's not much plot more in this episode, but there's 2 really small moments that I just love, both involving JJ. It's like at the very beginning, like JJ and Yurio kind of have like a fight in a sense where because Yurio is so angry and mopey all the time that obviously he's developed a fan following, and they all put it's like these girls who wear cat ears, and they think Yurio is basically like a cat. And, every time he skates, they throw cat ears on the rink and stuff. And like he has to wear them sometimes. And all his fans and he hates all of his fans. But then JJ also has his own following. They're called JJ's Girls. And it's like they're talking.
He eats it up.
Yeah, he loves it. But it's a great scene of JJ and Yurio kind of spatting with each other while JJ's Girls and Yurio's Angels, I believe they're called, are kind of fighting in the background. I like that. And the other moments, when they're all kind of eating together, JJ shows up and says like, you guys are eating together, and he makes like kind of this grand speech where that would paint him as the villain, but then again it works on that subversion level where they all just kind of don't really care and they all like walk away, and then JJ's like, oh wait, where are you guys going? You guys want to eat? Like you guys want to hang out? Like because
he said because that was right after the moment when Victor said that they're only gonna get married if there was gold, if Yuri wins.
Yeah.
And then JJ's like, ha, he's not gonna win. I'm gonna be the winner, and then I'm gonna marry my wife. And his fiance is there.
Yeah.
And everyone's just like, yeah, fuck off.
Yeah, and they all just walk away. He's like, and they're like, oh wait, no, guys, where are you going?
Yeah. He's a good character. Now to the actual Grand Prix, episode 11. This is the Grand Prix final short program. We just get right into it. Yurio is the first to get on there, but he doesn't do as well. And then Fitchett gets a personal best, but it's Yuri's performance which really blows everyone away. It's his best performance yet, and not only that, but he surpasses Victor's world record for short program.
He scores. I have the score. It's 118.56 points.
Yes, so that's. I don't know anything about ice skating, but that's a big score.
That sounds like a lot of points.
Yeah, that does sound like a lot of points. You only score like 3 points per shot in basketball, right?
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah, so
I think
he scores a lot, and he does it all because like in the first instance of during the program, we learned that like, oh, he just did a quadruple flip, but he also did it with his arm raised for increased difficulty, and thus is awarded more points. Like,
yeah, see, that's what I like. I like that subtle explanation of the rules, and I think they could have done more of that because they did a rule explanation dump around like episode 4, like just before, or episode 3 or something, just before he goes off to do qualifiers and stuff, is when they basically tell you all the rules. Like, here's the rules. There's a presentation section and there's a performance section. But like, I guess if they kind of like worked that into the dialogue more and stitched it in there more, I think it would have been more effective.
Yeah,
and I would have liked that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I see that.
Yeah, but anyways, the other highlight of the... Oh, go ahead.
I guess just to go through, like, because Yurio breaks the world record. Next up is Kristoff. Yurio breaks the world record. Yuri does not.
Oh, is it Yurio? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Because Yuri just does
Yurio is the one that...
He does the quadruple
a short
flip.
Program guy.
Yeah, Yuri does the the quadruple flip, which at the very end, which is like a big move, but he also places a hand on the ice.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so Yurio is the one that kicks it.
Yeah. Kicks
ass this first one.
Kristoff does pretty well. Like he gets 102, like 102, and he has like that mature sex appeal thing. But this is where I think it's Kristoff's most interesting like moment, is just because even though Yurio just like destroyed anything, like Kristoff still doesn't care, because all he really wants is for Victor to return to the ice. Like he's still so bored with what's happening. With everything, but he doesn't.
Yeah, he wants to beat him.
He just wants to beat Victor. He doesn't care if Yurio really beats him. He just wants to beat Victor. Then the next up is Odebek, who's the character who we have no idea of, like really, but there's like a really sweet moment where like Odebek's about to go, and then Yurio like
he cheers him up.
Yeah, he goes like, "Good luck, bro," and they give each other like a thumbs up. It's like, friends.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of I think it's kind of clever that they added in this new character at the end, because we still get to see new performances even at the final stretch.
That's a good point.
I guess that was kind of a smart move on their part. Sort of a shoe-in character, but also serves a visual purpose.
And then the final performance.
Yes. And this is what we were talking about earlier about how JJ was being kind of like a one-note character. Mm-hmm. So JJ this whole time has been like King JJ and all that, but this time, at the end where it really counts, he screws it all up, and the pressure of it all kind of like collapses on him, and his program is just not very good.
It's not at all. Like and he keeps failing. He keeps saying like, "I'll rise up. I'll do this here," and it's like, "Oh, I'll do a quadruple flip." And he's like, "Single flip."
Yeah. And that's interesting. I like that. I like that he wasn't the same cocky, always good ice skater to the end. I like that he's still very human. And you can sympathize with him, you know? He was really good up until this point. But, succumbing to pressure is something that I feel like...
It's humanizing.
Yes.
And it shows that, like, because I'll admit, I think I cried, I like teared up during this scene, basically, and needs his motivation, but like all of his fans aren't leaving him because he's failing. They don't love him because he's like the best. They love him for him. Like even when he fails, the people still adore him and are cheering him on. And like the scene where like his fiance and stuff, because like all he really does love his fiance like so much, and he's like, I'm gonna marry her. And there seemed to be like that flash of, is she still gonna love me? Like if I don't win here, basically. But then like she's like crying, she's singing his theme song, like it's like, I'm the king, JJ, no one defeats me. And like, I think it's so
yeah.
Good.
I think definitely one of the best moments of this of the series. Yeah, so everyone's a very good contender, except Yuri's got a long way to catch up because the competition's hot. Yurio's on his game.
Yurio is going to be tough to beat. I think Yuri's in fourth. Yeah, Yuri's in fourth. JJ's in last. Pitchett's in fifth. And I'm sorry, Pitchett. Like your story's interesting and stuff, but you're just not. You're not going to be a factor.
You're not that good, bro.
You did great. Because he's doing it because I think it's either in this episode or the next episode we learn that he doesn't really care about winning. He just loves skating, and he wants to eventually bring like an ice skating show to Thailand and be really fun with it, which is
that was cool. I like that little that's motivation beyond just the competition, which I think is really cool. So at the end of this episode, Victor and Yuri kind of have a heart to heart, and Yuri basically tells Victor that after this competition we should just end this coach-student relationship. Yeah. Which is it's heartbreaking to Victor. Victor starts crying. So it's kind of a role reversal where now Victor is the one that's tearing up instead of Yuri, and
after he shattered him. Which is maybe why they did that in the first place, to show this kind of reversal.
Yeah. And so it shows a very the emotion there is reciprocal. The feeling is mutual. They both love each other, and they love being each other's mentor/student. Yep. And so we go on to the
final episode.
Yeah, the finale.
Where basically Yuri kind of admits like the reason why he's doing this, like why he's retiring, is so Victor can return to ice skating. Like he thinks he's kind of holding Victor back in a way by doing this. Like he doesn't want to be a hindrance to Victor. He wants Victor to return, because everybody wants Victor to return to ice skating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so at this point, because Yuri did so bad, he just feels like he is holding him back, which is a very selfless move, and I think it shows the love there, that he cares about Victor more than just a coach. He cares about him as a fellow competitor, as a person. And now we've arrived at the last episode, and we are at the free program for the Grand Prix finale.
Yep. Since JJ came in last, he goes first. And it's my favorite like line, I think, in the show itself, when JJ's skating, when he's like he's doing kind of poorly again, because he misses his music cue, he misses a whole lot of things, and then but then he says to himself maybe if the other skaters mess up, then I could find a place on the podium. It's like, what? No, I'm not going to win that way. I'm going to win because I am King motherfucking JJ.
Yes.
and then he delivers, and then he really does come back from that.
Yeah, so that's the thing that confuses me, is because JJ, he does really bad in the beginning, but then he still kind of manages to bring it back. Whereas the other ice skaters, they all kind of do fairly well throughout the whole way, but JJ still places. He still gets third place.
Yeah, JJ eventually,
which I think
third.
I don't think that's right. Like, I feel like he should have been not placed at all. I feel like maybe it should have gone to Otabek, like the new character, or maybe even Fitchett, because their performances, they both did really well on both of them.
They were better, but it's like JJ, we know it's not like implausible to think that JJ can score really high, and it's not like he was like 6-7 points behind everybody. It wasn't like he was drastically behind everybody in the short program. And we've seen before that JJ can dominate. So when he does, so it's like he just kind of had to bring himself out of that. So I don't think it's like completely plausible. And I'm very glad JJ won. But like the funny thing is, like, I did think Otabek came in third. And I texted my friend after I watched it saying, the criticism about the show is that JJ actually didn't place third after that. And he's like, JJ did place third. I'm like, what? then I have no criticisms of how
No, see,
I'm very glad he came in.
yeah,
third.
see, that's the thing, though. I think it would have been better if he didn't place at all because because he fell so far behind on the last performance. I feel like I think it would have been really good. Like he still did his whole like I'm gonna come back from this thing, but still not placing and still having the people that didn't really mess up as much be on the podium. I think.
But he wins, because like it's a different motivation for him. He doesn't win because he's cocky. He cockily thinks that nobody else is around him. It's like he actually does have to fight and earn his place on it, rather than it just being handed to him like it kind of was previously.
Yeah, I know. I'm just talking purely from like a technical like performance standpoint.
Yeah.
Like
because
he messed up so much. I don't know. I just feel like he maybe should have gone to him. But then again, I guess we'll talk about Yuri's performance. So this is the performance that gets the breaks Victor's record, is when Yuri does his free skate. So Yuri does like the best free performance of all time. His jumps are on point. His jumps are even like the most difficult jumps he's ever done. It's a perfect program, and he beats Victor's world record, which means that both Yuris have broken their respective program records of Victor.
Yep, which is huge.
And that gives him the motivation to basically come back to competitive skating.
Yeah, it does. It gives him the final edge, especially because right after this, Yurio does so well. Yeah. And because like he's so sad, because now that Yuri's retiring, Yurio's just like, what? No, like you cannot do this right now.
Yeah, he's like, you think you're just gonna win gold and retire after this? Nah, hell no. So Yurio blasts through, does a really good performance as well, and at the end of the whole first season, it turns out that Yurio is one that gets gold, Yuri gets silver, and JJ gets bronze, and this kind of triggers the continuation of the series because Yuri goes up to Victor, and Victor was all like, "Oh, I wanted to kiss the gold medal. I wanted to kiss Yuri's gold medal."
Yeah.
And then Yuri's like, and then Victor, because Yuri at this point was deciding to retire and just have Victor come back as a competitor, but Victor's like, well, can you think of anything that might make me happy? And that triggers Yuri to continue skating and for Victor to continue being his coach, which is going to be really tough on Victor.
It sets up a very interesting season 2, which is like Victor is both competing and he's still going to coach him, and I think it ends with him going to, and they're all going to be training together basically, because they're all going to be in Russia. So that'll be an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, and it'll be cool because we've only ever seen like short flashbacks of Victor's ice skating in this season. Yeah, so it'll be really exciting to see him actually take to the rink in the next season and kind of smoke the competition essentially.
I'm so excited in that sense because, as you said, like the story started in the middle, but even then, I feel like this chapter was really just the opening chapter, like in the sense of the saga. Like I'm so excited for the next season to see where the story goes.
Yes. So yeah, overall, I think it's a good series. I don't think I like it as much as you do, but it's still something that I enjoyed watching for sure.
I learned a lot about ice skating from it.
Yeah. So yeah, do you want to give this a rating? Should we give these ratings?
I don't know. How would we rate these?
I have a rating system. I think I've told you my rating system.
But it was one of our failed recordings.
Exactly. Yeah. So
and I don't remember it.
I'll explain it again. So 1 star is that I don't like it and I'll never watch it again. 2 stars is I like it, but I'll still never watch it again. 3 stars is I like it, and if a friend were to invite me over to watch it, I would watch it.
Okay.
4 stars is I like it, and I will willingly watch it of my own accord. And then 5 stars is this is mandatory viewing every single year. So
every single year.
With our first Anime Ricochet episode, Ping Pong on the Animation, that's a 5-star anime for me. I need to see that every year because of how good it is.
Agreed. That is a 5-star anime.
For this one, I would give it a... I'm going to say... I hate giving 0.5s. I hate it when people give like fractions of scores, but I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to give it a 3.5. I'm teetering between whether or not this is something I'll willingly watch or something I'll just watch like casually, like if someone were to tell me to watch it or something.
Right.
What about you?
I would say that it's 4 stars right now. And it's only 4 stars because I don't know how the story will end. If this goes for 3 seasons, right, and I can see the story from start to finish, and then I'll know if it's mattered, if it's important and stuff, and then I think it has the potential to be a 5-star for myself because I love this anime. But I recognize the fact that we've only seen a beginning part of the story.
Yes, definitely. It's we just scratched the surface of these characters and the potential that they could go with this anime. But yeah,
They
I'm
were
ready
born
to see
to
the
make
next season.
history.
They were born to make history. I'm ready to see the next season.
So yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, we did it. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening to Anime Ricochet. You want to plug us a little bit, Jeff?
Yeah, we are Nerd Blaze. You can search it up on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube. We are going to be uploading our podcasts on the nerdblaze.com as well as our YouTube channel. So yeah, check us out on those mediums.
Yep. Thank you very much. I hope you guys enjoyed listening. So, no, we had fun talking about this.
Yeah, it was really fun, guys. Well, have a good one. See ya.
Bye.